So to be honest, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do with my senior project, but I knew I wanted to plan or create some type of event or activity for the community and for the school. I've always enjoyed planning events because I'm a pretty organized person and I like taking on little challenges like that. And I can definitely understand the difficulty of the process of deciding a college major or deciding on a future career. It's really a huge decision for high school students, as some of you probably know, because people feel a lot of pressure to declare something like that, even though it's not necessary in high school. But some people do already have a clear idea of what they want to do. And on the right here are some responses from a survey that I sent out, which I'll be talking about later, but you can see that some people already have clear ideas of what they want to do, whereas towards the bottom, there's some people that don't have any ideas, which is totally fine. And especially this past year, students have had just so much on their minds and so much other stuff to worry about, so exploring careers is likely not a priority of many. And guidance usually puts on an amazing career day with a fun, collaborative career fair in the cafeteria and presentations in classrooms. But I knew that with the pandemic, this wouldn't be happening, but I wanted to see if there was still something I could do to get students some more opportunities. So all in all, I decided that I wanted to plan a career event for the school. And of course, I had to check with Mr. Adiki and the other counselors before I could go any further. And they all said that they were happy to help me. So now I needed to plan an event. It seemed kind of daunting at first, I'll be honest. But once I was able to get some initial thoughts down, it seemed a lot more manageable. I knew that I wanted to have this event in the springtime so that I could have a lot of time to plan the event and get ready for it. And with the pandemic, it was clear that it would not be possible to do the career fair, which was unfortunate because people usually say that that's their favorite part of the event. But I still thought that just doing presentations would be very valuable. And we decided that it would be run completely on Zoom, which unfortunately would make the event less interactive, and we all know at this point that online learning is not the easiest and most fun thing. But on the plus side, this meant that my presenters didn't need to come to the school, which in turn did make it more convenient for the presenters and kind of easier for me to organize at the same time. So on one hand, I was still working out all the details of the event and brainstorming how it would be run. But on the other hand, I began researching different careers that I wanted to include in the event. So I looked at different articles from U.S. News and World Report and the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. And these helped me understand like the highest ranked jobs in terms of things like projected growth, salary, work-life balance, and unemployment. And I also made sure to look at careers for high school graduates because not all students decide to continue their education in college. So that information was very useful, and then I also decided to survey middle students to hear their direct feedback during an advisory period. So I received over 200 responses, and I learned that most students are interested in things like business, art, health, and science. I received some responses as to what specific careers people were interested in, which really did help me later on when I was reaching out to people, because I wanted to use this information to make sure that those presentations geared towards the students' interests. So the next step was actually finding volunteers to present about their careers. So I wrote up a brief summary of the event, which included things like the date, time, and format, which I worked with Mr. Adiki to plan for Thursday, April 8th during the advisory period. This write-up was posted on the middle school bulletin throughout March, and then there was also announcements on the school's Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter pages. I also reached out directly to some people, such as the police and fire departments, my uncle, who's a biochem college professor, and some friends' parents. There was a lot of emailing back and forth with the presenters to answer any questions and give them all of the information. So I provided them all with questions that I wanted them to answer throughout the presentation and kind of just guidance on how to present over Zoom. It was also very important for me to stay organized with everything, so I created a nice detailed spreadsheet with all the presenters and information and sequences to keep track of everything. So I decided that the best way to host the event was to have each presenter paired with a teacher who would host the Zoom meeting. So I had to reach out to some teachers to find help with this, but that was very easy because so many teachers were willing to help me. And as I previously mentioned, the event was scheduled for April 8th during the 75-minute advisory block while we were still hybrid. So initially I wanted the event to be on a Wednesday half day when all the students would be home, but there was no date that really worked perfectly. But looking back, I am glad with the way that it turned out because half the students were in the school, which resulted in high participation. And I was a part of the cohort that was in the building, so it was great for me to be able to walk around and see all the students on Zoom and make sure everything was working. So I ended up with 12 presenters talking about various careers, and they all presented for two 35-minute sessions. And the night before, I sent out a document with a description of each presenter and their Zoom links, and then during advisory, students each chose 2 sessions to attend. So the final project, I think, was a huge success. So as I just said, there's 12 presentations occurring simultaneously for 2 sessions, and each session averaged about 20 students. And there was one which I will shout out on the left, Jamie Perkins, who was a fitness coach, had over 50 students attend his first session, so I thought that was amazing. And then to wrap up, I received a lot of great feedback from both students and teachers. Many students mentioned to me that they really enjoyed a particular session that they attended, or the person that they talked to, and many of the teachers told me that it was a great project, so that was great to hear. I also sent a final thank you note to all of my presenters, and many of them mentioned that they really enjoyed talking to the students because they had great conversations, which was also great. There were a few small inconveniences along the way, such as the last minute addition to the project just the night before, but that ended up working out fine. And then also the firefighter had to respond to a fire that morning, so that was a little bit stressful during the event, but overall the event ran pretty smoothly. I really did enjoy doing this project, and I think it's definitely something that I would recommend for other students to do. I think that just planning the presentations aspect of it was definitely manageable for a high school student, but I do think that returning to the original format with the fun career fair in the cafeteria would be great, and I think it's definitely something that a younger student could take on. I gained a lot of experience in planning an event, which was really great for me, and I hope to do more stuff like that in the future. I developed my communication skills with members of the community and school faculty. I've never sent so many emails in my life as I did the 2 weeks prior to the event, but so that was something new. And I definitely improved my problem-solving skills a lot. Finally, I just want to say a big thank you to all of my presenters who participated in the event, because it would not have been nearly as great without all of you. And I also want to thank all the teachers that hosted Zoom meetings, the guidance counselors and Mr. Adjiki for all of their help, and all of the students for participating. I really enjoyed this project. It was something that was very fun for me because I love planning the event. It did get a little stressful at times because I was down to the wire, but it all turned out pretty well. And I know that most people in this room were a part of the project in some aspect, whether you were hosting a meeting or just going to them. So I really hope that you found it useful and fun. Here's my works cited.